that's one of the issues that, really made it prominent to us that, we can't take for granted third-party security, vendor security, or things like that. So we have an obligation to protect not only our attendees, but our staff, and as well as the third-party vendor.
Welcome to another Season 4 episode, brought to you by Madrid Convention Bureau. This season was recorded on-site during Convene Pcma 2024. And in this episode, cybersecurity expert Olga Nasibullina and RIM's CIO Michael Peters reveal crucial insights on data protection. Discover the risks of third-party vulnerabilities in event planning, why digital hygiene is your best first line of defense, and the security measures they recommend to safeguard attendee and company data. Enjoy the episode. My name is Maggie, digital media editor at Convene and host of the Convene podcast. And today I'm very lucky to be joined, first of all, by Michelle, our editor-in-chief, and our two guests are keynotes at Convene Pcma. Thank you for making the time. Olga Nasibullina is actually an expert in cybersecurity. She's a private advisor to government agencies and private companies. She's also a founder of a few companies in the area of cybersecurity and is developing trainings for NATO. I hope NATO. Okay, it's about current pronunciation. And with us is also Michael Peters, who is Chief Information Officer at RIMS. And we've written quite a bit about RIMS as of late, it seems. And Michael is an expert in designing, developing, and deploying high performance, I have to read that, and scalable technology solutions. So all of you are welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure being here.
Yes, thank you very much.
How has the increasing connectivity through technology impacted data and cybersecurity risks for businesses? So that's a big question. Whoever wants to take it first.
Go ahead.
Yes, right. So I can start. So actually, the number of devices connected and the number of people connected, it expands the surface of possible attacks for cybersecurity. So it's from one side, it's good to be connected. I'm in Spain, you are in US, people are connected. Mm-hmm. But the surface for hackers and to attackers to act is so large. So it's one very important point. Then another second important point from my opinion, it's that the companies relies more and more on third parties services. So it's good. Yeah. You cannot manage everything by yourself.
Right.
But from other side, these third party companies should also be protected, but you cannot always check this, how they are protected. And their vulnerabilities becomes immediately your vulnerabilities. So, and I don't know if you can add.
I totally agree. I mean, the more data you have, the more vulnerable you are to all kinds of different types of attacks. I mean, and I'm going to say this in the session, and I've said it before in our meetings. I said, everybody wants what you have, no matter whether it's data, whether it's toys when you were children. Everybody wants what you have. It provides some value to them. So they're going to try and get it no matter any way they can through all the attack venues, all the, BYOD devices, all the different niches that, Olga was talking about. They're going to want money for it. So the larger data spread you have, the more vulnerable you are. I don't care whether you're hosted by AWS. I don't care whether you're hosted by Google. There are always these vulnerabilities, zero-day exploits or backdoors that aren't patched, that aren't secure. Somebody's going to get in. Like, what Olga said is their problem is now your problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, by the way, that you're saying that they want to take what you have.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard also the opposite, that some people are worried of what potential hackers can put into their machines, especially if they're, high value people, inserting files into their hard drives that are, going to impact them in a negative way. So I've heard the person being very worried about that. Is there a way to protect yourself around both sides?
I always say that our first line of defense is our end user. So we try to do a DID, defense in depth, and Olga probably knows a lot about this, multiple layers of defense technologies to prevent people from getting in. So for example, at RIMS, we use not only computer antivirus, we use server antivirus. We use computer malware and server malware. We have, a security event and information system SIEM in Amazon that logs all these events and takes action to. We have, dual redundant firewalls and things like that. But a lot of it is cybersecurity education to the end user. So you could put all these systems in place, but at the end of the day, your most vulnerable area is your end user. So for example, we had a malware attack on us years and years ago where one of our users got an email and she clicked on the attachment one time and nothing happened. So she clicked on another 19 times. And, all of our systems got ransomed. We found out, who did it. We remediated the machine. We restored everything from backup and we didn't pay the ransom. We were back up within 6 hours, but, it's 6 hours of business lost. So no matter how strong you think your security posture is, there's always one vulnerability.
Do you have training now for everybody so they know?
We do. I conduct, quarterly training, and I'll also, spearfish my users. I'll also try and, send them certain kinds of emails. And, when you have all these people, when you send it out, it's a quiet day, and all of a sudden people start reading your email. They reply or they forward it to me and say, "Hey, is this legit?" Which is exactly what we want. We want them to have that little bit of trepidation, that little bit of knowledge, questioning in the back of their mind that says, Mike always told me to hover over this link, so I could see the real
URL.
The URL, yeah, or don't click on any attachments or things like that. So the more knowledgeable you can make your end user, and I think Olga can elaborate on this too, the better off your company is.
That would be my worst nightmare is bringing down the entire system by clicking on an email that I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, in general, people think that, God, cybersecurity is so difficult, so I don't even want to hear about this, so don't touch me. I have a lot of stress. I don't want to be involved in this. And then they click on these phishing links, and boom, you have your accounts, I don't know, maybe in Messenger stolen or whatever. And so we want to give this responsibility for our cybersecurity providers, for our, network administrators, etc. That people are looking who did something wrong, but actually very simple rule: don't click on and everything will be okay. So if everyone in this room, and then we will speak for broader audience on the conference, will take this responsibility on yourself. Don't forget to check links, or just to take, 5-9 seconds to think who sent me these emails or who sent me this message. And don't make immediate action. And you will be more safer.
Make it sound so simple.
Yeah, make it sound simple. But don't you think that AI has become more sophisticated and made it more difficult for people to really recognize what's real and what's fake?
Yes and no. Again, I will cover this topic in my presentation, but I can speak here.
Yes,
I can
absolutely.
So I will show 2 cases, just very recent cases when big organizations were hacked by, let's say, hackers who used AI systems. So in one case, it was in Singapore, I think a financial manager was called by his financial director. So it was an online meeting with deepfakes. So
Deepfakes?
Yeah, with deepfakes. So he had his financial manager and other people that he knew on the meeting, etc. And they told him to make this transfer of 25 million, I think. So he made this transfer. But there is another case, very recent, of Ferrari. And I think person received also message from his general manager of Ferrari, and with demand to transfer money, etc. Then he received a call with voice. So it was the voice was of general manager. but the person was very attentive and started to ask questions like, what book did you recommend me to read like yesterday, or etc. So he started to check. So the cases are very similar. One case, very technological, high-level hack.
Mhm.
Second one also. But the key decision was, and the responsibility was on end user.
So that made all the difference. Just
Yeah.
the questioning and
Yeah.
So it's all about, like I said, preparedness and defense in depth. And what Olga referred to, and is another example of defense in depth. So, for example, these AI hacks that are going on, where you get a call from supposedly your daughter, your son. My family and I have a phrase. We have a code word. So, in case this happens, I'll ask them the question, and if I don't get the answer to that question, or they don't get the answer to that question, purportedly I'm the one calling, then they know. Yeah. So
you're not going to share the code word with us.
No. Rainbow. No. No. So like Olga said, I mean, it's all about, preparedness, how this gentleman went one step further and asked some questions. And like I said before, your first line of defense is your end user. And kudos to this gentleman for going that extra step.
Very wise.
Yeah. And there it comes the emotional sensitivity that sometimes hackers appear to, because they're like, I've seen that. I think there are videos online where there is a woman calling the bank, pretending that, the child is crying in the background and she really needs this money from her husband's account. And of course, that's all fake. And how the person on the other side just cracks. And because they're like, okay, I feel for you. So I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to follow protocol. But we're here at an event. And do you feel that's kind of overlooked maybe in the events industry? Do event planners really pay attention to, protecting themselves and also their attendees on site?
Right. Like, what are the vulnerabilities of an on-site, like a registration system and all of those things? Where are they vulnerable?
Where
to
Where
start?
are they? Where are they not vulnerable? I mean, years ago, we took it on faith that our vendors and our third-party integrations would, have this defense in depth and have their infrastructure secure for us to come in. But now, after what happened to us in Philadelphia, we don't do that any longer. I go in advanced planning and I'll hack the convention center. I'll find out where the vulnerabilities are, and I'll do the same thing with the third-party vendors and things like that. And I'll draw up a report, send it to our vendors, our third-party integrations, as well as the convention center staff. And if it's not remediated by the time our conference comes out, we either A, don't do it, or B, we have some serious issues with the conference center for them to make those remediations and things like that.
What happened in Philadelphia?
In Philadelphia, and we'll talk about this in the session. So our sessions are all, the data is all pre-recorded. The PowerPoints are sent to our vendors, and during the sessions, there's screens that are put up with the presenter's PowerPoint presentation. Our vendor server got ransomware, so right before the sessions were going to start. So we had to scramble, and they were giving IP addresses. So every computer has an IP address. It's like a fingerprint. They were given externally facing IP addresses. Mm-hmm. So Olga knows what this is. This means that their IP address is visible to anybody, anywhere, with no firewall, nothing to protect it. So long story short, we got, the situation remediated. We found out who it was. I did a little bit reverse hacking, and who knows where that person is now, but the situation was fine. But that's one of the issues that, really made it prominent to us that, we can't take for granted third-party security, vendor security, or things like that. So we have an obligation to protect not only our attendees, but our staff, and as well as the third-party vendor.
Yeah. Also, I had a case, there was a cybersecurity conference, a very big conference in France, and hackers made fake page. So actually, when you open the link of registration that is posted on LinkedIn, etc., you see a fake page, and they collect data and passwords and credit cards, etc. So everyone can be vulnerable, but also a lot of a big responsibility lays on software developers. So at least if you're a client, you should ask what protocols of cybersecurity do you follow? Or I don't know, because like there are so many techniques and rather simple techniques in cybersecurity when you can just see from external point how looks your system. So actually what hacker can see from like external side. So for this method, you don't need to go deeply inside of your infrastructure, but because what we see, or developers often leave passwords to admin panels, like
Default passwords.
Yeah. A lot of websites we have on WordPress, but you should update often WordPress and its work of admins, but they don't make this update, and so the site can be vulnerable, etc. Like recent, what my colleagues shared with me, so very prominent AI startup raised big amount of money, etc. But when we simply check let's say infrastructure from external point of view, we have admin password to their AI platform. So it was fun, but they are specialists on AI, not on cybersecurity. So it's okay.
Right.
A lot of it is, it's the human factor. I think by nature, humans want to be trusting individuals. And it's incredible because I'll go to these locations and I'll set up a fake wireless network and people attach to it. No password, no nothing. And I'll sniff the traffic and they're conducting banking. They're conducting email. So, I have passwords. I texted my wife. I said, if we were crooked, we could live in Bora Bora for the rest of our lives right now. I have bank accounts. I have passwords. I have all kinds of things. It's just, right? So, I think a lot of it is humans want to be generally trusting. I don't know if it's a little bit of naivete, or the uneducation, not knowing. So again, I got to refer back to it. Your first line of defense is your end user, and you have to educate your end user. Always be suspicious.
A word from our sponsor.
Voted the world's best meeting destination for 5 consecutive years, Madrid offers an exceptional transport network, breathtaking spaces, world-class dining and accommodations, and a vibrant lifestyle that seamlessly blends business with leisure. Make your next meeting Madrileño. Discover more with the Madrid Convention Bureau.
Now back to the program.
Yeah, I think also the development of technology is so fast.
It is.
We live already in this digital world, but we don't fully understand it. Like it's a very automatic way of thinking. Yeah. So we think that it's too far and it's not about me, but it's already like here. So I will think about cybersecurity and my digital hygiene tomorrow, because I'm not very active user. But if we open our phone, like we have emails, we have bank accounts, we have our social medias, we have photos, we have our messages in our WhatsApp or whatever. So we have all our digital identity already connected to internet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our responsibility to protect ourselves.
Can you expand on digital hygiene? What's an example of digital hygiene?
Yeah, but it's like we already said, to be very vigilant. I don't know. So first barrier, it's your responsibility, what you can do. Don't click on phishing email or text messages or SMS like smishing. Then you can ask your organization what actually we do to protect our company. I don't know what we should do as employers, because usually it comes from company, and always it's like for employers, again, one additional training for cyber hygiene of cybersecurity. It takes my time. I don't need this, or I don't want this, etc. But it should come from us, from employers, because it's our data. So it's even okay. They will steal, like, I don't know, money from company, but it's our salaries. It's also an approach. I don't know. I think because people think that they work in company, so it's company's problem, but it's our general. So when we will start to treat attacks and risk in the digital space as our common problem, then maybe something will change.
It's like it pays to be a little paranoid. I think just because I think the internet also is, we all think it's all open sharing. As you said, we want to be trusting. Social media is all about sharing, oversharing, in my opinion. But everything is out there. And then there's open source, where people contribute to a common, or crowdsourcing, where they're contributing to something good. But then the underside of that is the bad actors, and being very vigilant, as you said.
I'm curious, like when you go, for example, like you're away from home and you need to, let's say, go to your bank account for some reason, would you not trust the Wi-Fi that you're hooked on if you're in a convention center? So I'm not putting you out there in a Starbucks, but
no, I wouldn't. I don't
convention center.
I don't go to my bank. I use a company credit. No, if I had to. So I do two things, and Olga probably knows about this. I spoof my IP. I have a program that spoofs my IP.
Can you explain that to people that might not know?
So what it does is it'll give you an IP address. What I was referring to previously about, every computer, everything that connects to the internet has an IP address. I use a program that fakes the IP address. So if I'm here in Barcelona, it makes it appear like I'm in Germany. And then what I'll do is I'll activate a VPN, virtual private network, which encrypts your traffic from point to point if I have to do any type of banking. That's the way I'll do it. So.
And you have that on your all your devices?
I have it on
phones.
every device I have, laptop, iPad, phone.
And I think that's the problem with cybersecurity, that it sounds big and out of our league as human beings. And it's just the word, cybersecurity. And you're like, whoa, okay, I don't know.
I think it's like with science in general, but we are approaching to this because I'm watching different science videos, etc. And actually scientists explain the same. So we, as a scientist, we cannot deliver our messages in a simple way. So people don't understand our language. So that's why we have a lot of health issues. I don't know, people don't understand physics, whatever, as an example. So in cybersecurity, I think it's the same, but also I would say it's very young sphere. It's very large, but very young, because internet is a young technology. And first we used this for good, and everything was good. But then, so as for organization, we know that we need to plan emergency plans, to predict any situation. When people started to use internet, nobody thought about emergency plans. So actually, we are, as a humanity, we were not prepared what cause it will make for us. So that's why, we are already running this vehicle, and on the road we start to learn very quickly. But it's normal that we make mistakes. I mean, it's okay. It's not about cybersecurity, but it's okay to make mistakes, But you should know that you can deal with it. So it's the idea of my speech on this event, that you can deal with it because you have this knowledge already. Mm-hmm. You can take 9 seconds to think before click and to be more vigilant.
Getting back to what you said, I think it's not the big hairy gorilla in the room. It's not the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I mean, it's all about explanation and elaboration to the end users. Just, you have to make them aware. And, it's kind of like a parent-child relationship. You have to not dumb it down, but explain it to them in layman's terms so they understand. Okay. So, for example, I don't know how to close financial statements. I'm not in finance. I don't know what the marketing team does, but if they explain it to me, then I'll have some type of understanding. And if, they explain the pitfalls, then obviously I'll definitely be more cognizant about what I'm going to click or what I'm going to open or things like that. So I think that, it's not this just a huge, issue that we're dealing with. It's all about education and familiarization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also everyone should be proactive and go on the internet and read about this, because there is now a lot of materials or courses on cyber hygiene. It's made by some companies, but still it's not enough. Why? Because on my opinion, we have this digital space, then the people understood that We have hackers. So we should educate more cyber professionals. So first line was like to create the education and courses for cybersecurity professionals. Now we see that there are not enough of cybersecurity professionals to protect. So we create more courses and more content for cybersecurity professionals. And just only after this, we started to have like cyber hygiene courses for bigger mass,
More
like
people.
for more people. But people should be also more proactive and start to read on the internet and find this information.
I think for meeting planners, the biggest vulnerability is that they collect information from registration. And usually and that has financial details and other details about delegates. So I think a lot of times they trust a third party to do that. What kind of assurances should they look for when working with that other party?
Any party that collects any type of financial data has to adhere to PCI compliance. So, that's definitely one of the things. They need to be PCI compliant. They need to have defense in depth. They need to have, the appropriate hardware and software that, blocks these types of attacks coming in. If they are a SaaS, software as a service type of vendor, we want to make sure that, they adhere to ISO standards, NSIT and NIST standards, PCI standards. What do you think?
I think it's difficult also like to understand like for this all this abbreviation.
Oh,
yeah. The things they should ask about, right?
Yeah. But
but
there are things that you should ask your third party provider, and you can ask ChatGPT also about this. I think she will already reply on this question. Very intelligent, but these rules are known. Also, when you see something difficult, and you start to be afraid, try to simplify. I can deal with this. I can find this information. I can message Olga to ask this information. I mean, this should be new approach to difficult things.
We're lucky with RIMS because all the vendors that we use now, we've used for the past however many years since I've been there, 15, 16 years.
So there's trust.
There's that trust factor. There's that human factor again. But alternatively, there is the questionable factor or, the suspicious factor where, did you guys roll out a software patch and keep the admin password default? So, how good is your defense in depth? But what I'll do is it's just like starting a new vendor every year. I'll go in and I have a checklist. There's certain things I look for and, I'll try and hack the vendor, make sure they're secure.
That's interesting. I actually don't know because I have some background working for a professional conference organizer who had a very vigilant IT team as well. I think they were also trying to hack everything they came across. But other than that, I don't know if that's an actual practice in the industry that I'm curious to find out. When there are contracts made with third-party vendors, that they necessarily go and ask these questions, like, show us your certification and are you covered? Because, again, it comes to the human factor. We just want to trust the people that we're shaking hands with, and we are actually good with that often. Show any last questions on your side before we
No, this
wrap
has been
up?
super interesting for me. I didn't think it would be. I have to be honest. But I think it's super interesting, and I agree we have to take responsibility, but it's not too scary, and we have to educate ourselves.
Is there anything we didn't address and we should have before we wrap up, you feel?
I think everything was great. Just be aware. Don't trust anybody.
I'm going to have a code word with my kids. I think that's my next
It's
step.
important. I think it is. It's important.
Oh, yeah. That was also a takeaway for me.
Yeah.
I need to call my mom.
And we're looking
Thank you.
forward to your session.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Remember to subscribe to the Convene podcast on your favorite listening platform to stay updated with our latest episodes. We want to thank our sponsor, Madrid Convention Bureau. Learn more about how to make your next meeting Madrileño at escvb.com. esmadrid.com/mcb. That is esmadrid.com/mcb. For further industry insights from the Convene team, head over to pcma.org/convene. Stay inspired, keep inspiring, and until next time.